Hello, friends. Welcome to Look and Live. You are now here with Pastor James Devalan. We are going to continue where we left off. As a matter of fact, this is the last of our seven-part series of the seven deadly psychological sin with Dr. Jennifer Schweichner. Friends, it's been an amazing journey. I would like to know, what would you guys like to do next? Because I have plenty more stuff that we can get through. Let me know if you're ready for some more stuff. I give you the options. Would you want to talk about health, media, or you let me know. Would you continue this morning series where we talk about different things? I have a really good series of study by Pastor, I think it's Pastor Scott. But anyway, he does social media. He talks about technology. He talks about how to properly deal with these things. So maybe that's an option. So I'll get some consensus from you guys and share some options out there, and then we'll start another series. But let's get into our last one today. This is a seven deadly psychological sins. This is the last one that I have for you today, and I'm hoping you're all ready because this is another good one. This is the last but not least, and the title is bitterness. Bitterness. Without further ado, let's get into the heart of the message.
Our next deadly psychological sin is probably the deadliest: bitterness. Someone once said that bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. Often when we're hurt by another individual or group of individuals, we begin to think excessively about that situation. We suffer an emotional wound, and it takes time for us to process through that. So some thinking about it is okay, but there's a certain point where we're starting to think about it too much and it begins to consume us. And we call that rumination, when a certain situation fills our thoughts. What often happens with people that have fallen into bitterness is they may end those relationships, they may cut those off. But as they move forward in their lives, because that bitterness is not resolved, they will actually find another situation that is very similar to that situation to carry on the legacy.
Wow.
Because they have unfinished business, so to speak. We can potentially become really mean, angry, negative people through bitterness. It's very interesting. A study was done on the effect of all things, Botox on mental health. Can you believe it? Botox impacts mental health, not just because it makes people think they look better, but because those expressions around the eyes, the furrowed brow and so forth, can have a reflexive effect on our psyche, on our emotional life.
Wow.
So these individuals were given Botox around the eyes, and it was found that 47% of their depressive symptoms were relieved over a 16-week period.
Wow.
The replacement for bitterness, it's very simple.
Forgiveness.
Let me tell you a story. In 2006, a man named Charles Carl Roberts walked into an Amish school and shot 5 Amish schoolgirls in cold blood. Then he shot and killed himself. The amazing thing about this story is that the compassion from the Amish community toward an act that would normally call forth all the vengeance and anger of human nature, the compassion actually flowed more freely than the blood. Only hours after the shooting, an Amish neighbor appeared at the Roberts home to comfort the family. Visits were paid to his widow, parents, and in-laws. One Amish man spent nearly an hour with Robert's sobbing father in his arms. Finally, 30 Amish attended the killer's funeral. One Amish man said, "I don't think there's anybody here that wants to do anything but forgive."
Wow.
One of the reasons people hesitate to forgive is that they confuse forgiveness with other things. Let me tell you what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not excusing what that person did, nor is it approving of what they did. Forgiveness is not reconciliation. You don't necessarily have to enter into a relationship with that person. That's not always safe, not always advised. Forgiveness and trust are related, but they are not the same thing. Separate forgiveness out from those things and define forgiveness clearly in your mind. Forgiveness is you releasing your right to hurt that other person the way that they hurt you. Now, we could argue that nobody has a right to hurt anyone under any circumstances, but in our minds, we assume we have the right to hurt another if they've hurt us. Forgiveness is the voluntary releasing of that right. Sociologic research shows that those who understand their own sinfulness, their own capacity for hurting others, are actually measurably more inclined to forgive. So if you're having trouble forgiving someone, remember times when you've hurt another. Carl Menninger said that if he could convince patients in psych hospitals that their sins were forgiven, 75% of them would walk out the next day.
Wow.
When we accept that we've been forgiven, we are going to be much more inclined to be able to forgive others. See, forgiveness is a two-way street. I receive forgiveness from God and from others for the things that I've done, and I bestow forgiveness upon others. I know in some ways this way of life seems irrational. We all have this justice bone inside of us, this sense of justice, and we feel it needs to be fulfilled.
Yep.
But good counsel says leave that in God's hands and choose to forgive. It'll be better for your health, for your mental health, and for your spiritual life.
Guys, we ended with a bang, didn't we? We live in a world today where forgiveness is a taboo subject. You see, all the wars are all built on this foundation of bitterness and revenge and getting back at those who've done us wrong. The greatest power that you possess is the power of forgiveness. The power to let go and let God. And I love what she says, forgiveness is not excusing the wrong. Neither are we approving what was done as being right. Forgiveness is when I voluntarily release the person from my right to do them harm. Forgiveness is me releasing them of the guilt that I have against them. It brings peace to the soul too when you forgive others. You know, especially when you know how much God has forgiven you. Powerful. I've also learned about, bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting somebody else to die. It's crazy. I've seen people who hold on to unforgiveness are among the most miserable individuals in life. They never really do good, generally. There is a psychological impact that unforgiveness has on the person that you just don't know how to move forward. It's bad. It's really bad. Rumination, when you're thinking on the thought over and over again, you're thinking too much on the wrong that was done to you. I think one of the solutions for that is just to get busy doing other things. Get busy helping others that are in need, find what's happening in the lives of somebody else and focus on fixing that. That will help you to lose sight of your own problems. It's really a good practice. Believe me, I try it. Forgiveness. I love the Amish forgiveness story. I need to go check into that. I've heard it before, but it's a very powerful one. I want to go look into that story again. I love what the psychiatrist said. If people knew how God has forgiven them of their sins, they will more easily, over 75% of people will more easily be willing to forgive others. It's true, friends. We've been forgiven by God, even though we don't deserve his forgiveness. We don't deserve it, but God has forgiven us much. And when you think about your life and how undeserving we are and how much mess we've made of God's law, God's name, how much we have hurt others. And to know as a Christian, you go to God by faith, you bow your knees and you beg for forgiveness and he forgives you. He restores you. He calls you his son and daughter. And then he turns around and says, you need to go forgive somebody else. Go and forgive that friend. Go and forgive that wife. Doesn't mean you have to go back in a relationship with them, but you need to release them of that guilt you have against them. For us to say no is very selfish. For us to say no is very self-centered. This is not an easy saying, I know, but if God has forgiven us, friends, we gotta forgive others. For as tough as it is, we're gonna have to let go and let God. We're gonna have to release them of the guilt. We're gonna have to, if you don't know how to do it, friends, you know, ask God for help. It's good for yourself to forgive. It's good for the world to forgive. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I hope this was a blessing. I hope you've grown, learned something. These series have been a blessing to you. Let me know. Do you want to keep going? Because believe me, I don't like any information. I got stuff that I can study myself. I have a series of Bible prophecy that I'm going to start working on. I'm just waiting for my computer to come back. That's in the shop right now. I'm using a iMac. It's doing decent, but it's not my cup of tea. But once I get that back, I'm gonna start working on the prophecy series. So that's gonna be a personal project for me and those of you on the channel. And this is gonna be for 26 nights on a row. There will be no breaks. No breaks. Every day, 7 p.m. Night after night. These series will come out. These lessons will come out one after another. And the goal is to build you up in the faith. There will be no breaks. So you'll be like, yeah, I'm just letting you know. And I'm going to pre-record those. So it's going to be really good. But in the meantime, I have another series that I can go through with Pastor Scott Ritzema. I think so. Scott Ritzema, where he speaks about the media, entertainment industry, music industry. But he comes from a biblical perspective with a lot of facts and solid meat. They're about 28 minutes long. So you let me know if that's something you want to do, or would you like shorter series like we just did right now, 5 minutes video, or would you like to do a 30 minutes video? So that means I have my introduction for 1 minute, let him preach for 28 minutes, taking notes the whole way. I haven't gone through the whole series myself. I've gone through parts of it. So I myself want to go through that. Okay, so 28 minutes. And then, so I'm thinking about 35 minutes per video. If that's something you want to dive into every morning, you let me know. Let's have the conversation. I think if that is something you are open to, yeah, I can make it happen starting next week. So I'll get a vote on that. You give me a 1 if you want to do the series for Pastor Scott Ritzema, where we talk about media, music, and everything, entertainment industry, how to properly use our phones, and how the phone has an impact on the mind and all that. He's giving you tools to actually better your life and to save your home and your children. It's still dealing with the mind. So we're still dealing with some psychology, if you will say. So give me a 1 if that's something you want to do. Give me a 2 for no. Maybe give me a 3 for something different, because I have another series on health that is actually really good as well. Another doctor giving you tips about health, and I think that's another good thing we can also go through. If that's something you're into, we can go through that. There's like a 7 steps series of health and stuff we can go through. Very powerful. Anyway, let me know. So 1 for media, 2 for no, 3 for the health message, where we can better ourselves. All right, friends, thank you so much for listening. I hope these have been a blessing to you. This is the end of our series here. 7 parts is in our channel. I'll be promoting that. Make sure you check it out and let me know what you like about this, how much of a blessing it is, and how are you going to forgive somebody today, releasing them of that guilt. If you don't know how to do it, ask God to help you. Until next time, and as always, remember to look unto Jesus, to live by faith. Have a good one. Bye.